Epic Games Store doesn't have the greatest reputation among PC gamers. Steam was the only monopoly that most people were okay with due to its convenience and vast array of features, but Epic Games were not most people. In December 2018, they shook the PC gaming market by launching their own storefront. One that, on the user end, offered nothing unique compared to Steam, replicated a fraction of Steam's features, and replicated them all badly. They've since added a few more features and updates, but still, there aren't enough of them and they're worse than how Steam does them. But if you wanted to play Metro Exodus on PC in the year after launch, you had to buy it on Epic, because Epic signed that over as a timed exclusive weeks before its intended Steam release. Same with many other games, some of which were crowdfunded under the promise of a Steam release. Needless to say, PC gamers were not fond of Epic's antics. However, Epic Games Store had one killer feature, one card up Tim Sweeney's sleeve that could keep his storefront relevant in a steampunk world. More favourable revenue splits for developers. While many were pleased with this, as unfair splits were a common complaint raised towards Steam, I doubt this by itself was enough to make many of them move storefronts. Luckily, Epic Games Store had one more killer feature, one that could keep the storefront relevant, and actually did. Free games on rotation. When the store launched in December 2018, it offered one retail game on the storefront every 2 weeks for free. In June 2019, this increased to one game every week, 2 games if the version's a mature rating. On some weeks, Epic holds special offers of 3 games, and each December they offer one game every day for 12 days. These deals are steals. If you stay patient and check the store every week, you can amass a library of dozens of great games that can each last you dozens of hours of fun. You can be introduced to new genres or series you may never have considered trying otherwise. Or you can get so caught up in redeeming new games that you don't end up playing the games once you redeem them. I've fallen into the latter trap and have decided it's time to get myself out. In each episode of this series, I will play 3 games in my library that I've redeemed in these offers, in order of when I redeem them. This does not include games that are normally free, so no Fortnite, no Genshin Impact, and no storefront of itch.io that is available to download from Epic Games Store for some reason. I will chronicle my feelings and experiences of playing each game from the perspective of someone new to many of the genres featured. In other words, don't expect formal reviews, expect me to embarrass myself by sucking at games and spreading misinformation. For our first example of this, Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Before redeeming this game, I had never played a Civilization game before. The only other strategy game series I had experienced with were Worms and Fire Emblem, and given how far apart these series are, strategy game is a broad term and playing one doesn't necessarily prepare me to play another. Thankfully, Civilization 6 captivated me, even when I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Each game starts with a settler and warrior for each player spawning on a continent. Your only objectives are to explore the land and find a place to settle down and start your first city. Then come the important decisions of what to produce and research. You can produce recon units to further explore the land, combat units to fight off bandits, builders to improve the growth and productivity of your city, or settlers to start new cities. You can research mining to build mines, then ironworking to upgrade your warriors into stronger soldiers, or shipbuilding to build naval units, or astrology to build a holy site and start spreading religion. Before long, the game will explode into a sea of decisions each turn, and stats that, at this point, you probably don't know what they do or how to manage them, and you'll likely lose. That's when you learn what those stats are, play the tutorials, read the Civilopedia, and apply the knowledge you've learned into your next game. Then in the next game you play as a different civilization and utilize their unique abilities for a new strategy, because there are 5 different win conditions and plenty of small tasks, and you won't be able to do all of them in one standard speed game. If the game has hooked you like it hooked me, you'll keep playing again and again until you finally achieve that victory. Now, because games are only a few hours long and designed to be replayed, they are prone to feeling repetitive. The base game has rather base level customization options before starting a game, mainly for the number of players, their civilizations, the map size and type, and the game difficulty and speed. It especially doesn't help in this regard that I don't have any of the game's paid DLC. When Epic Games Store gives out a free game, typically they only give out the base game, unless the game is a re-release that includes the original release's DLC built into the base game. Civilization 6 has plenty of DLC, adding new civilizations, Golden Dark Ages, the World Congress and its associated diplomatic victory, natural disasters, climate change. All of this freshens up the game and makes it feel less repetitive. If that isn't enough, the game supports mods ranging from quality of life UI changes to gameplay overhauls and additional content. Epic Games Store supports mods, but they have to be installed manually, and for many games, including this one, most mods are distributed on the Steam Workshop. If you're interested in buying Civilization 6, I'd recommend you buy it on Steam with at least the Gathering Storm expansion, which also includes the rule set from the Rise and Fall expansion. Both items go on sale for under £10 combined. If any game I cover in this series interests you, I generally recommend you buy it on Steam, as I believe that to be the superior launcher, though some developers may prefer if you buy it on Epic for the better revenue split. Whichever storefront you choose, expect to pay for it, as it's incredibly unlikely Epic will offer that specific game you want for free again. Enter the Gungeon. Now this is more the type of game I'm familiar with. Spawn in, move around in real time, shoot the enemies, dodge their bullets, which I'm not great at doing. It's a tight, difficult twin-stick shooter, where a huge factor in its difficulty is requiring awareness of bullet patterns alongside the reflexes to avoid them. The other huge factor in its difficulty comes from the game being a roguelite. Not a roguelike apparently, even though the terms and their meanings are so similar that many people use them interchangeably. Gamers, stop doing this. Both of those terms mean that levels are procedurally generated to be different each time you play the game. There are 5 floors in the Gungeon, in addition to secret floors accessed by performing certain tasks on the preceding floors. Each floor has its own pools of rooms, enemies, hazards and bosses with a chance of appearing in each attempt to clear the 5th floor and beat the game. If you die, that ends the attempt and you must restart all the way back at the 1st floor, though at least killing bosses rewards you with money to spend on adding new items to the random pool. I haven't played a roguelike before, but I could quickly figure out what was going on. A key skill in this game is making use of whatever the RNG gives you, if you manage to get anything before you die. Yes, you are expected to fail multiple times before you succeed, and it can feel demoralizing to repeatedly fail early without feeling like you're progressing, but it makes those attempts where you do get far feel even better. To a blind player, you're discovering new items with new functions constantly, and it's worth testing each one because a lot are unique, fun to play with, and comedic. The game isn't shy with its sense of humour. Almost every enemy and item in the game is a gun-related pun. What I like most is when the joke extends into how a gun functions. For a type of gameplay comedy integration, I don't think I've seen other games do quite like this. That gun could be your main gun for most of an attempt, effectively turning the entire attempt into a practical joke. Before starting an attempt, you can select from multiple playable Gungeoneers, each with their own starting loadouts that define their distinct playstyles. There are 4 to start out with, but more can be unlocked by clearing the Gungeon. Yes, you are also expected to beat the game multiple times in order to unlock everything. I hadn't beaten the game once before writing this review, and in retrospect, I probably should have. That does not stop me from enjoying the game. In fact, it does the opposite. It keeps me playing so I can see everything it has to offer. When the game is so solid at a base level, I would gladly do so. If you want to as well, just be prepared to see that same first level over and over again. RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition. Like Civilization, I had never played a RollerCoaster Tycoon game prior to redeeming this, and the only simulation game I'd played was SimCity Build It on mobile, which really wasn't adequate preparation. Sim games can be a very daunting genre to learn, typically due to high reliance on managing resources and populations, catastrophic effects of failing to manage them, and tutorials that don't help much in explaining the game. RollerCoaster Tycoon, however, isn't as extreme as that. At its core, the game is about constructing and managing an amusement park. You do so by building rides, stalls, scenery and paths, setting the prices, maintaining them, hiring and managing staff. There's quite a bit to this game, and to me, the tutorials did a decent job at teaching me how to use them. Namely, they taught me how to navigate this UI with loads of tiny buttons and labels that only appear after hovering for 1 second. This game is from 2004, so the quality of life isn't up to modern standards. Once you get past that, the game is pretty straightforward. The notifications bar at the top of the screen and the thoughts menus for each attraction and guest provide mostly useful guidance on what changes you should make to your park. By placing a variety of attractions and scamming your guests for the highest prices they're willing to pay, you'll gain more guests in your park and more money to spend on new attractions to attract new guests and continue the cycle. The main mode of play is Career Mode, consisting of a selection of scenarios in which you spawn into a park with some basic infrastructure already laid out, and given a list of win conditions to work towards. Some are as easy as placing 2 pre-built roller coasters down, some are challenging, some start smoothly only to plateau at the last goal. To me, the difficulty felt a bit all over the place rather than a smooth curve upwards as I played each sequential scenario. If you don't want difficulty at all, then Sandbox Mode spawns you into a massive flat world with unlimited money, all items unlocked, and the freedom to build whatever you desire. Since the game is grid-based, the building tools are very simple and intuitive, although terraforming is a bit harder and less precise. For roller coasters, you build each track piece individually as you go forward, deciding how it should slope or curve. Your goal when designing roller coasters is to make them as exciting as you think your park needs, while keeping their intensity and nausea ratings low. I found this easy enough that I didn't need to worry too much about it in the earlier career scenarios, and not a challenge at all in Sandbox Mode. After all, the whole point of that mode is that you don't need to worry about anything, and when the designing tools are this easy to use, it's a bit boring. I prefer Career Mode since there's at least a bit of difficulty there. Regardless of your preferred method of play, you're likely to get some enjoyment out of this solid package. Admittedly, I didn't get very deep into the game in my time playing, but I still saw the quality and joy of it, which demonstrates how fine a casual pick-up-and-play experience it is. Besides, like our previous 2 games, that means there's more to experience in case I sink more hours into it. Fans of RollerCoaster Tycoon tend to debate whether 3 is a better game than its predecessors, but agree that it's the last good RollerCoaster Tycoon game. With the original game's expansions, Soaked and Wild included, the Complete Edition offers the largest array of features in the series, and I'd say is a worthwhile play. And there you have it, 3 great games that can each last me hours of fun, at no monetary cost. For me. For Epic on the other hand, they pay developers millions to offer their games for free and don't get much of that money back. As revealed in the Epic Games v Apple court sessions, Epic are running their store at a loss. They expected it to become profitable by 2023, failed that deadline, and now expect that by 2027. That's 8 years of losing money on a storefront. I can see why a company like Epic would want to avoid that if possible. Sadly, if Epic do decide to cut costs, then I can see their free game offers being one of the first things on the chopping block, meaning all those excellent deals we'd excitedly check each week would be no more. To me, that is the real cost we pay for these free games. A cost of attachment. Epic's strategy seems to be bringing in new users with these offers, building up their loyalty and eventually enticing them to spend money on their store. If so, then they seem to have forgotten that humans are naturally much more likely to accept free offers than ones they have to make any payment or sacrifice for. As a result, many users only redeem the free games from Epic Games Store and never spend a dime there. Hypocritically, I am an example of this. Since downloading the launcher in 2020 to play Fortnite, I've periodically redeemed free games whenever one I've heard of is offered, yet I've not bought any other games with money. The main reason I give for why circles back to Steam. It's been the de facto PC game launcher for over a decade now. It's proven itself to be very user-friendly, offer many unique enhancements, and sell a massive library of games. Even if Epic Games Store had all of this at launch, it'd still probably struggle to win a large number of PC gamers over after they've built years of trust with Steam that I doubt they'd give up in an instant. Not to mention that in order to play the games they previously bought on Steam, they'd need to keep Steam installed on the PC, at which point they might as well keep buying from Steam so all their game purchases are on one launcher. At best, Steam vs Epic Games Store would become another platform rivalry like PlayStation vs Xbox. Only instead of expensive hardware that each household is only expected to have one of, it's over free software that can both easily be downloaded onto any PC at the same time, making the whole competition feel shallow. Even if Epic Game Store was as good as Steam, many would still only use it for free games and stick to Steam for paid games. Epic would be stuck losing money, and their best course of action would be to cut deals from their store. Sure, it'd lose them a large chunk of their user base, but it's not like they were paying Epic any money to begin with. Things may not be so dire as I portray them here. I don't work at Epic, and for all I know they could have some top secret plan to save their funds, but in case they are, it's important that we take advantage of their offerings while they're still here. If a game you're remotely interested in is ever offered for free, redeem it, play it, and maybe tell others what you think of it. I've amassed enough material for many more episodes of this series, and even I don't redeem all too many of these games compared to how many I could have. Hopefully those future episodes will be shorter now that I've gotten the pressing business talk out of the way. Hopefully those future episodes will exist. Like, comment and subscribe so you get notified when they do.